it's interesting, and you don't know, you and I haven't had this conversation, so you come at your work from the strategic incentive position, which I love. And I have a quick story to tell you. I have a guy that runs a small engine company that I know of. Every single employee in the business is compensated based on the work that they do, as well as their hourly wage. And so here's a guy that runs his business 1 week a month in town, 3 weeks a month in his home in the South. So in his business is in upstate New York. And we talk about it. And I said, you're one of the few that understands that you're incentivizing people from a strategic, place that's helping them to understand that they're not just a cog in the wheel. They are the wheel. They are what makes the business run. And you've aligned them in a way that, keeps people incentivized to do a great job for you and to be able to run the business without you there. And I think that's a lot of the people's goals. And again, it's how do I work on my business, not just in my business? How do I not have to have all of the stress of being the entrepreneur in the business? How do I run this more as the CEO? And the alignment of, strategic incentives, from your perspective, does that incredibly well. And, you and I have talked before. We've, talked with, some of our clients in the past, and we'll do that some more in the future. I come at it from a standpoint of these entrepreneurs were really good at doing something. Okay, whether it be running, a sheet metal or, demolition, or, most of my, a lot of my businesses are in the construction world, real estate development, whatever their widget, whatever their thing was, they got really good at it. And then they were benevolent dictators, which I think, and they were really good with their people, but they told them what to do and they kind of controlled everything. And now they're thinking about succession and they haven't built teams. And so I come in and help them with moving from that benevolent dictator to a, strategically aligned team on the future of the business. I believe that the two of us, if you partnered those two pieces together, just really, really helps a company. So we're going to talk some more about a lot of the, what you're thinking about and how you do things. And I'm looking forward to bringing that in for a lot of the people that, we talk to, because it just fits hand in glove when you can get them aligned around the vision and the culture of the company, but then also pair their incentives strategically and match them together. It's like now you're not just preaching to the choir, everybody's singing,
So can I tell you two stories on this?
Sure.
One's a story about how there's a disconnect often between equity structure and ownership and executive compensation. And the second story is about getting synthetic equity, which is a term that I'll define, down deep in the organization. So I walk into a prospect. I ask him how he pays and how he's organized, all that kind of stuff. And it comes out that he's got 3 key people, 2 owners that are 50-50,
right,
and 1 guy who's a key up-and-comer who's got 4% of the company in stock options. And I ask him, let's call him Phil. It's not his real name. But I asked Phil, what's wrong with this picture? 50-50 and 4% stock options. And he says, nothing. I love it. And I say, what happens, Phil, when the 4% stock option holder exercises? They go from being a 4% stock option holder to a 4% equity owner. He says, I guess they own 4% of stock. And I say, okay, so what now has happened to the value of your own stock? And he says, what? And I said, well, I've looked at your shareholders agreement, and minority shareholders have a 25% discount off of their value. So as soon as this 4% stock option holder exercises, your shares go down by 25% in value. Did you know that? But I say worse than that, who now has the control over this company? He says, what do you mean? I says, well, if you have big decisions to make, sell the company, do a big acquisition, etc., who's the swing vote? And he thinks about it, and he takes his head and he starts banging it on the desk and saying, okay, I give up. But that's an example of how people just don't understand the interconnection between capital structure and executive compensation.
Yeah, and to your point before, talking about, the CFO's job is not to read that stockholder agreement or the buy-sell agreement and to understand how the structure works there. Their job is to be focused on the financials, make sure cash flow is going well, make sure that there's, cash to grow and do all the things that need to be taken care of. It's why we have a job, but I think it's really important that we make that note again, that there's a distinction. You're the chief financial officer of the company. That doesn't necessarily mean that you've got, that you've built the skills around, shareholder agreements, operating agreements, and strategic incentives. And you may have some things where you took a class, but you've got 20 years. I have 20 years of doing these things. And so we've just seen more. And like when somebody's selling a business or somebody's doing strategic incentives, you're doing this once. Wouldn't you want to work with somebody that's done this many, many, many times?